Welcome to APO Talk. This is Jisoo Yoon from the Asian Productivity Organization. The APO is an intergovernmental organization with 21 member economies in the Asia Pacific, and APO serves as a think tank and provides consultancies to promote productivity, innovation, and competitiveness. For more information, please explore our website, Asian Productivity Organization. So today we're going to discuss resources conservation policy, focusing on energy efficiency policies and deliverables in India. In the last few decades, India has emerged as one of the fastest growing economies, and it is the second largest country by its population in the world, which led to rapid increase in energy demand. To challenge this, the rising energy use, sophisticated and systematic policies were discussed to follow an energy efficiency pathway. So in this context, this P-Talk will trace the India's energy policies in different sectors and their impacts and deliverables. While certain sectors are leading in terms of its achievements and more to be realized as well, the results are encouraging and present improvements on the manner that the energy is being used. So today we invited Mr. Avijit Nayak to review the relevant policies and actions taken by the Indian government, industries, and the general public. Mr. Avijit Nayak is a Deputy Director, Energy Management Group, National Productivity Council in India. He is a certified energy auditor and professional consultant and has carried out many consultancies, projects on energy consumption, conservation, issues and solutions for different sectors such as agriculture, SME clusters, and commercial buildings in India. Mr. Avijit has also published articles on energy performance, including energy technologies like thermal power plant organization, optimization, and oil rig operation for energy conservation. And after having the presentation, we'll have an interview with him. So let me invite the speaker today. So Mr. Avijit, it's a pleasure to have you today. Would you say hello to our viewers and start your presentation?
Very good morning and good afternoon, and thank you, Ms. Jisoo, for introducing to the viewers. Let me start my presentation, and first of all, let me thank you, Asian Productivity Organization, for the opportunity to discuss on such a hot topic today, which is resources conservation policy, and with a special focus on enhancing national energy efficiency in India. My presentation, I'm going to more focus on 5 agenda points today, and which are like the energy situation at present in our country, that is India, and the energy efficiency policy regimes in India before the policy or the enactment process, and after the policy regimes also we will discuss various programs and schemes which are being implemented along with key deliverables, the energy efficiency achievements of all the activities, and our way forward plan for achieving energy efficiency and making our country an energy efficient country. So to start with, this is the energy scenario, a comparison versus global scenario with our Indian scenario, where you can see the world's primary energy consumption, which is something around 583 exajoules of energy. And if you see almost a decade period of 2008 to 2018, there is a growth rate of almost 1.6% on the primary energy demand globally, and almost 50% of the total global energy consumption is consumed by 4 countries, and the top 10 countries in globally consume about 65% of the primary energy demand. Now, if you can see these sources-wise contribution to the primary energy consumption, the fossil fuel sources like coal, oil, and natural gas, they constitute the major share of energy consumption, and the share represented by all these three major fossil fuels are almost what you say is balanced, almost 24 to 33 percentage. Whereas if you see the Indian energy scenario, we consume as almost about 5 to 6 percentage of the global energy consumption, but we are the third largest consumer of primary energy globally, uh, with only 5.8 percentage of the total primary energy consumption. If you see the sources wise contribution, uh, ours is not balanced as we see in the global case among the three major fossil fuels. Our energy consumption is majorly dominated by the coal sources. 55 percentage of our total primary energy consumption share is contributed by coal only, followed by oil, that is around 30 percentage of energy consumption. And if you see our growth rate or the increase in the primary energy demand, it is about 5.2 percentage against the global average growth rate of 1.6 percentage. So being a developing country, our energy demand is also increasing at a higher rate. And of course, the energy mix part, it is dominantly the energy is coal dependent only. Our dependency on coal is more. Now, if you see the sectors where the energy is being consumed, there are basically two sectors where energy is being consumed. One is supply side sector, the other is the demand side sector. Supply side sector, I meant the energy transformation industries and the energy distribution industries, such as the oil refineries, which transform the crude oil to several petroleum products, the power generating units, electricity generating units, which transform the fossil fuels into electricity, and the transmission and distribution sector, which basically these are the energy supply sectors. And there are energy consumption or the demand sectors such as industrial sector, transport sector, residential sector, commercial sector, etc., etc. In India, if we see the energy use pattern, 56 percentage of the energy is consumed in the industrial sector, followed by 10 percentage in the transport sector, and 9 percentage in the residential sector. So the major consumption or the major quantum of energy is used in the industry sector. And also in the industry sector, the major contributing or the major energy demand sector is the iron and steel sector. Of course, the industry sector here does not include the thermal power stations, because the thermal power station comes in the energy supply sector. In the energy demand sector, industry being the major consumer, and among the industries, iron and steel, chemical, petrochemicals, non-ferrous metal sector, machinery sector, etc., are the major consumers. And if we go to the second demand sector, that is the transport sector. In the transport sector, road transport sector is the major energy demand sector, that is about 74% of the total energy consumption in the transport sector, followed by the domestic aviation sector and rail sector. Now, the primary energy demand basically in our case is morely dependent on the fossil fuel sources. So fossil fuel sources are always associated with emission issues during the process of conversion of energy. If you see the emission pattern in the country, the major emission share is taken by the electricity generating plants. That is, out of the total emissions in 2018 India, 51 percentage emission was generated by the electricity and heat producers, followed by about 20 percentage by the demand sector, energy industry sector consumers. So about 75 percentage of carbon emissions is resulted from the electricity generating sector and the industry sector, followed by transport sector, which is about 13%. So these three sectors, electricity generating sectors, industry sectors, and the transport sectors, they generate or they take share of 90%, more than 90% of the total emissions in India. And if you see the quantum of the emissions from 2000 level to 2018, almost the emissions quantum has increased by 2.5 times. So the energy consumption as we are developing, yes, the energy consumption, energy demand is increasing, but it is also associated with the emission issues. So there we have to create a balance between the energy consumption and the emission issues. Now, if you see, to tackle the energy issues in India, the if I go back almost 50 years back, in India, Energy Management Group was establishment in National Productivity Council in the year 1964, almost a decade before the first oil shock hit the world. So in NPC, National Productivity Council India, we started the Energy Management Group in India with a specific purpose of creating awareness among the industries and the commercial sectors regarding the efficient use of energy. And later on, the government of India also felt the necessity of energy conservation and energy efficiency activities, which has to go in parallel with the energy increasing energy demand and consumption. So in 1970s, the government formed the first fuel policy committee in the Planning Commission of India, which came up with a report first in 1972, the first part of the report in 1972, where different actions were recommended for a projected period of to 1992, and later on when in 1973 the oil shock hit the world. In 74, the Fuel Policy Committee came up with the second part of the report recommending different actions to be initiated by the government to tackle the changed energy scenario after the first oil shock. The Fuel Policy Committee in 1974, in its report, also recommended for formation of an energy board to not only to initiate policy and programs related to energy efficiency, rather to monitor the implementation process of the energy efficiency policies in the country. And based on that recommendation in 1980, one advisory board was constituted on energy, which was again attached to the Planning Commission of India. And parallelly, because of two consecutive oil shocks, the Ministry of Oil and Petroleum, Government of India, also formulated a body, that is Petroleum Conservation and Research Association, in 1978 to create awareness among the transport sector and the industry sector for conservation of oil and petroleum products. In the meantime, in 1981, real developments, or you can say the proactive action, was initiated when an interministerial working group on energy conservation was formulated under the chairmanship of Secretary, Department of Heavy Industries, Government of India. The interministerial working group started working on programs and schemes to achieve the energy conservation targets in different sectors, specifically the industry sectors. And in 81, they took help of National Productivity Council of India to conduct a nationwide study and bring out on recommendations on energy saving potential existing in the country. In that report, in 1983, and National Productivity Council submitted the report highlighting the major areas of energy consumption in the country and the energy saving potential exists in each and every sector. In that report also, National Productivity Council recommended formation of an apex body who has to initiate the programs, schemes, and also monitor the implementation of the programs. And finally, in 1989, the government also tried to bring in a legislation because it failed. Still, in 80s or the late 80s, there is a poor awareness, poor level of awareness among the industries and the other sectors related to energy conservation. So legislation in form of an act was required. So in 1989, Energy Management Center under the Department of Power was created, and this department took forward the movement of energy conservation in India. And finally, in 2001, the Energy Conservation Act was enacted in the country. The enactment process of Energy Conservation Act 2001 led to formulation of an apex body, that is Bureau of Energy Efficiency. The Act, apart from recommending an apex body, that is formulation of Bureau of Energy Efficiency, which inherited all the liabilities and responsibility of the Energy Management Center, the Act also initiated various initiatives related to energy conservation in India. For example, the Act recommended for developing norms related to processes and energy consumption standards in the appliances sector. The Act brought in a concept known as designated consumers. Designated consumer means the energy intensive sectors, the industries, the other establishment sectors, the consumers which are consuming energy more than a specified threshold limit were declared as the designated consumers, and there were more compliance requirements are to be met by the designated consumers, which we will discuss separately. The Act also introduced a code, that is Energy Conservation Building Code, because building was one of the major energy consuming sector apart from industries. And this building code was initially intended for the commercial sector and later on extended to the other sectors or the residential sectors also. The Act also recommended to develop innovative financing models and also develop demonstratable projects to industries and other sectors. The Act recommended for developing research and development capacity, testing laboratories, and certification process also. To do all this, the Act also recommended to create awareness, capacity building, and consultancy strengthening in the field of energy conservation. To do all this, the Act also introduced one more concept that is formally was introduced to the industry sector, that is energy audit. And to conduct this energy audit, certified energy professionals were to be developed, and the Act recommended for creating a certification process, that is creating a certified energy auditors and energy managers in India. The Act also recommended introducing concepts of energy efficiency in the educational curriculum system. And last not the least, the Act also recommended international cooperations for taking up the movement of energy efficiency ahead in India. Now, once the bureau was formed under the Ministry of Power, the bureau, based on the Act's mandates, took several initiatives in different sectors. Now, how these initiatives were taken? If you see the final energy consumption, this is again the demand sector in demand sector energy consumption, where about 56% of energy was consumed by the industry sector and followed by the transport and residential sector. Of course, the other sectors like agriculture sectors, commercial sectors, public services sectors were also one of the major players. So The bureau also thought of creating a scheme or initiating programs, schemes in all these sectors which are the major consumer of energy. If you can see, there are major or the all the policies were concentrated mainly on the five sectors. The policies initiated from 2001 to till date, almost 2 decades. So in this 2 decade period, there are programs, schemes, several programs, schemes being running on for these five sectors. Few of the programs, the Bureau of Energy Efficiency is the implementing agency, and in some of the programs, other the government departments or the enterprises were selected as the implementing agency. Now, if you see sector-wise policy interventions, industry sector, domestic sector, again in industry sectors, there are two categories of industries, like the large industry sectors and the small and medium enterprise sectors. Similarly, in domestic sector, two intervention areas, that is with respect to buildings and with respect to the electrical appliances being used in the buildings. The agricultural sector and the commercial sector. Commercial sector includes also the commercial buildings and the municipal sector. Municipal sectors or the urban local bodies, basically the public services sector, which are also included under the commercial sector, and the final sector being the transport, which includes both road as well as the railway transport. Till now, the aviation sector has not been brought into this purview of the energy consumption policy sectors. Now, in different sectors, again in different sub-sectors, several policies, several programs and the schemes has been initiated. We will discuss a few of the major initiatives of the major impactful programs and schemes of the Bureau. Now, coming first to the large industry sector. In the large industry sector, parallelly in 2006, the government launched a national mission for enhanced energy efficiency, which is one of the 8 national missions under the National Action Plan on Climate Change. And under this mission, 4 initiatives were started by the government, and number one being the P80, that is Perform, Achieve and Trade. This P80 scheme was specifically for the designated consumers, what we discussed in what was defined in the Act as the major energy consumers. It is a regulatory instrument for the designated consumers to reduce their specific energy consumption, and it is also a market-based mechanism to enhance the cost effectiveness through certifying the quantum of energy savings or the excess energy savings. The second initiative was market transformation for energy efficiency. Under this market transformation of energy efficiency, the government thought of accelerating the shift of the energy efficient appliances sector by introducing super energy efficiency products. For example, under this super energy efficiency product scheme, the first appliances selected was ceiling fans, because it is once a consumer buys a ceiling fan, the inefficiency of that equipment gets logged into the economy for the entire service life of the equipment. So the initiative was to introduce super energy efficient ceiling fans, which are about 50% more energy efficient than the average ceiling fan available in the market. And this is targeted to actually introduce these energy efficient ceiling fans through providing financial stimulus to the manufacturers at critical circumstances. And this is one of the example where a complete transformation of the market or accelerating the market for adopting a super energy efficient product was introduced. The third initiative was being enhanced energy efficiency financing platform. Basically, this created a platform for the interaction of the financial institutions and the energy efficiency project developers. So here the financial institutions were linked up with the energy efficiency project developers so that the implementation process does not face any financial issues. The fourth initiative under this program was Framework for Energy Efficient Economic Development, where the objective was to develop fiscal instruments to leverage finance for energy efficiency projects through risk mitigation as well as with the provision of equity investments. So these four initiatives were launched or are the components of the National Mission for Enhanced Energy Efficiency. Now, coming to the P80 scheme, that is Perform, Achieve, and Trade, which was one of the most ambitious scheme for the designated consumers, and till date, this has been the most impactful scheme on achieving the energy efficiency. As the name suggests, P80, perform, achieve, and trade. So the scheme basically says the designated consumer has to perform, they have to achieve the targeted energy consumption, and they can also trade finally the achieved energy consumption. And how it works, let us see. Uh, for example, under this P80 scheme, as I said, this P80 scheme is applicable only to the designated consumers. So, in the country, a study was carried out to identify those designated consumers. So, when the designated consumers were identified, each designated consumers now were was studied for a baseline specific energy consumption. Specific energy consumption, again, the quantum of energy consumed per unit of their production. After establishing the base specific energy consumption for all these designated consumers, the each designated consumer was given a target of reduction in their specific energy consumption. These targets or the target fixation process is a consultative process. So the regulators, the designated consumers, the sector experts were consulted, and a target was notified to the designated consumers. Now, under the first case, let us say this is my base specific energy consumption, and a targeted specific energy consumption was notified to that designated consumers. And the during the assessment period, the designated consumer is able to achieve a specific energy consumption lower than the targeted specific energy consumption. Then the excess reduction in the specific energy consumption was recognized, and equivalent energy saving certificates were issued at that designated consumers. This is for one category of one type of designated consumers. There may be another designated consumers for which the base specific energy consumption is notified, the targeted specific energy consumption also notified, but during the assessment process, the particular designated consumers specific energy consumption is more than the targeted specific energy consumption. Of course, the adjustments to the during the process of assessment was done to nullify the what you say the normalization factors. Now, if the achieved specific energy consumption is more than the targeted specific energy consumption, the particular designated consumers has to comply by purchasing energy saving certificates. So this designated consumer has to purchase energy saving certificates to comply the targeted specific energy consumption. In the third case, when a particular designated consumers achieved specific energy consumption is exactly same as the targeted energy consumptions, then no energy certificate will be issued at that industry. Now, in the fourth case, where the particular designated consumers assessed specific energy consumption is more than the targeted specific energy consumption, and the industry also does not buy the energy saving certificates. In such case, that will be treated as a non-compliance under this P80 scheme, and that particular designated consumers will be penalized. Now, in the entire process, you can see there are a category of designated consumers which have received energy efficiency certificates or e-certificates, and there is a different group of designated consumers which are required to purchase the energy saving certificates to comply the P80 scheme. So a tradable market was created through the trading exchange, so that where the buyers and purchasers can come to a common platform and transparently they can carry out the trading process. So in the entire process, indirectly, you can say when this designated consumer is purchasing the energy saving certificates, it is indirectly being penalized for its inefficiency, and the industry which is selling the energy saving certificates is indirectly getting incentivized for its efficient use of energy. And this scheme, it came in different cycles. It was introduced in different cycles. This is a rolling scheme, so till now there are 5 cycles have been initiated. The first cycle being initiated in the year 910, in the starting from the 910, for which the assessment period was 2014-15. So during 2015-16, the energy savings achieved by these designated consumers were evaluated. Now, if you see the cycles, the first cycles started with 478 designated consumers. Again, designated consumers, as I said, these are the higher energy consuming entities in different sectors, in different energy intensive sectors above a specified threshold limit. This threshold limit is again notified by the Bureau from time to time. In the first PAT cycle, in 8 sectors, that is the thermal power stations, iron and steel sector, cement sector, aluminium sector, fertilizer, pulp and paper industries, textiles, and chloralkali. In these 8 sectors, 478 units were identified as the designated consumers and which were required to comply the PAT cycle requirements. Now, in the PAT cycle 2, where the baseline period was 2014-15 and the assessment period was 18-19, 3 more sectors, refineries, railways, and the discoms were added. So the PAT cycle 2 included almost 621 designated consumers. Similarly, for the PAT cycle 3, 116 more industries, PAT cycle 4, 109 more industries, and the PAT cycle 5, which is running now, for which assessment period is 2021 and 22, 110 more number of industries are being added into the list. So till now, about 956 units has been identified as the designated consumers. In PAT cycle 4, if you can see, the buildings and the petrochemical sectors again are the new sectors being added into the designated consumers list under the P80 scheme. So these designated consumers are required to fulfill the requirements or the targeted energy consumption. When the P80 scheme started, because the first cycle is complete, under the first cycle, these are the achievements. The PAT 1 achievements for the 8 sectors, which was rolled out for 478 units, the achieved energy savings quantum is about 8.67 million tons of oil equivalent. And this 8.67 million tons of oil equivalent resulted in carbon emission, CO2 emission reduction of 31 million tons per year. And if you see the sector wise contribution for reduction of energy consumption as well as emission reductions. The majority saving shares of 35% comes from the thermal power plant sector, which are basically the coal or the oil or the gas-fired thermal power stations, because basically a energy supply side industry which converts the thermal energy to electricity, and which is the third, apart from this thermal power plant, which is followed by 24% of energy consumption of energy savings from the iron and steel sector. So these two sectors were the major sectors in terms of achieving the energy efficiency and the carbon emission reduction in the PAT cycle 1. In the PAT cycle 2, where more number of industries were added, and till now 535 industries, the monitoring and verification process has been completed. So basically the 8 sectors of the PAT 1 plus 3 more sectors, which are basically in the supply side sectors, that is the thermal power plant, refineries, and the discoms. Now, in these sectors, till now, under the P80 cycle 2, 12.849 million tons of oil equivalent has been saved, and this verification process has been complete. Again, in this energy savings quantum also, if you see, there is 53% of energy saving coming from the supply side sector, that is the thermal power stations, the refineries, and the discoms, and about 46% from the demand side sectors, that is the aluminium sector, cement sector, chlor-alkali, iron and steel, etc. So in terms of energy saving achievements by the designated consumers, the PAT cycle 1 and PAT cycle 2 have given tremendous results, more than the targeted energy savings for the designated consumers. Similarly, under the industry sector, the other category of industry, that is the SMEs. For SMEs also, the Bureau initiated energy efficiency B and SME program. The energy efficiency policy for the SME sector requires a complete different approach. When the Bureau started the energy efficiency programs and scheme for the SME sector, they initially focused on 4 major areas, that is being the energy use and technology analysis, which are prevalent in the energy or the SME sector, capacity building programs for the SME sector, and implementation of energy efficiency measures in the SME sectors. And fourth being the developing an innovative financial mechanism to implement these energy efficiency measures. Under this program, the Bureau created about 375 detailed project reports on different technologies applicable to the MSME sectors. Out of these identified energy efficiency technologies, 21 technologies were implemented in 4 different in clusters as a demo project. And the Bureau also developed best practices manual and knowledge sharing platform, where commonly monitored parameters were also notified to the SME units. And till now, almost more than 60 awareness programs for the SME sectors also being carried out. Apart from the program initiated by the Bureau, there are joint programs being with funding from the Global Environment Facility, either through the World Bank or the UNIDO or the other international agencies. Parallel programs being running for the small and medium enterprises. For example, World Bank and the JEF project, which majorly focused on the financing energy efficiency projects as SMEs. Another program being promoting a market transformation for energy efficiency in micro, small, and medium enterprises, which is again a ESL, UNIDO, and JET program. ESL being a Energy Efficiency Services Limited, which is a public sector unit of Government of India. One more scheme which was initiated, or the concept was initiated by the Energy Conservation Act, like developing norms, specific norms for energy consumption. The scheme was started in 2006, named as a Standards and Labeling Program. The Standards and Labeling Program, that is S&L program, was targeted for the electrical consuming appliances, and this program basically sets a minimum energy consumption and performance standards for unnotified appliances. This program also prevents manufacturers and sale of inefficient equipments which does not meet this energy performance standard. And under this program, a mandatory labeling scheme was introduced, which has to be notified on the equipment to enable the consumer make an appropriate choice. This is the energy label, which is put on the notified appliances. More the number of stars, the more the energy savings. So 1 to 5 star, 5 star being the most efficient equipment. This star S&L program, or star and labeling program, this is a dynamic program which is reviewed at appropriate intervals, and the best efficient equipment available in the market is given a 5-star rating. And why it is dynamic? Because when later on a more efficient product is available in the market, that product is given the 5-star rating, and the existing 5-star rated product is demoted to 4-star rating. So in the process, what happens is whenever there is a upgradation in the ratings of star ratings of appliances, the 1-star rated product will be a non-star rated product during the next review process. And if it is a mandatory requirement for that particular appliances, that 1-star rated product, when it becomes non-star rated, it will be out of market, because the program also prevents manufacture and sale of appliances which does not meet minimum energy performance levels. So if you can see, from 2006 to 11 was the first period where the star rating was introduced, and the 5-star rated product was given the highest efficient product available in the market. This was reviewed during 2012-13 and upgraded. So the one more efficient product during that time has come into the market, which was given the 5-star rating, and the existing 5-star rating product of 2006 and 2011 was demoted to star 4. And the star 1 product during 2006 to 2011 is not available from 2012 to 13 for selling in India. So during this upgradation process, there are 4 upgradations has been taken place. You can see during 2014-15, the 5-star of 2012-13 was demoted to 3-star during 2014-15. So this is a dynamic process. The upgradation takes place at appropriate intervals, which ensures that there is a incremental growth in the energy performance level of the appliances being used by the consumers. Now, till now, from 2006 to till date, 10 appliances has been notified as mandatory appliances. Example being the room air conditioners, frost-free refrigerators, tubular fluorescent lamps, distribution transformers, room air conditioners, and, direct cool refrigerators, color TV, televisions, electric geysers, variable capacity inverter air conditioners, and LED lamps. These 10 appliances has been notified as mandatory appliances under the standard and labeling program, whereas there are more 11 appliances which are still now voluntary appliances. Maybe later on these are also will be included into the mandatory list. For the appliances, in 2015, a program named as Ujala, which was launched by the Honorable Prime Minister of India. Under the scheme, the objective was introducing LED tube lights, LED bulbs, and energy efficient fans to the domestic consumers for replacement against the conventional inefficient appliances. Now, this scheme is again one of the most successful program launched by the government, and under this scheme till now, this is the portal developed where on real time you can see the number of LED bulbs, LED tube lights, and energy efficient fans being provided to the consumers. And till now, this program from the launch, it has almost achieved a saving of 50,000 million units of energy because of use of LED bulbs. So this is again one of the major program initiated with respect to the energy efficient appliances. In this program, EESL, that is the Energy Efficiency Services Limited, is the implementing agency. Similarly, the Energy Conservation Act 2001, which also brought in the concept of Energy Conservation Building Code. This Energy Conservation Building Code initially targeted for the commercial buildings, which sets a minimum energy efficiency standard for design and construction of commercial buildings. Now, this ECBC code is also being extended for residential buildings. So if you see the journey period, the concept was introduced in the Act itself during 2001, and based on which in 2007, the government came up with the first energy conservation building code. Now, under this code, minimum energy performance standards were notified for the commercial building, and the important aspect of this code was this was a generic code, because in our country, mainly different climatic conditions are there. So the country was divided into 5 climatic zones, and the responsibility was given to each state government to amend the energy conservation building code according to the state's climatic conditions. The Energy Conservation Act was amended in 2010, where it introduced the energy conservation building code for commercial buildings having a connected load of up to 100 kilowatt, more than 100 kilowatt or 120 kVA. And in 2018, the energy conservation building code was also extended to the residential buildings, and the scheme was named as Econivas Sanhita for the residential building sectors. The ECBC, where it applies to new or constructed buildings, there are other schemes also parallelly launched for the existing buildings. The first program in 2019 came up for star rating of commercial buildings. In similar to the star rating of appliances, it is related to star rating of the buildings. Again, the star rating from 1 to 5 star, and 5 star being the highest and efficient buildings. The performance index for commercial buildings for rating was kWh per square meter per year, and this was introduced for commercial buildings such as office buildings, BPOs, the hospitals, shopping malls, etc. In similar line with the commercial buildings, energy efficiency label program for residential buildings was launched in 2009, and the objective of the program is to make energy performance of a home as an instrument of comparison while deciding over the home prices in future, which has been recently launched in 2019. That is energy efficiency labels for the residential buildings. For the agricultural sector, the agricultural demand side management program was initiated by the Bureau, and here the objective was to reduce the intensity of agricultural pumping sector by introducing or upgrading the efficient agricultural pump sets. Basically, the load or the consumers, agricultural consumers, use pump sets for watering the agricultural fields. So under this scheme, the objective was to introduce energy efficient pump set to the agricultural sector, thereby enhancing the energy efficiency use in the agricultural sectors. This scheme, under the scheme, 11 detailed project reports were prepared in 8 states, and about 20,000 pump sets were connected, which was covered for 20,000 pump sets connected to 87 electricity feeders. Uh, uh, Again, this is a scheme which is also presently being implemented for the agricultural sector. Coming to the municipal sector, which is nothing but a public service sector, where the major consumptions are related to lighting and the water supply. So in this sector, the bureau carried out a situational survey to assess the energy consumption. So 175 urban local bodies or municipal bodies were studied during this situational survey, and bankable DPRs was prepared as a result of investment grade energy audit carried out by the bureau, and which indicates an energy saving potential of 120 megawatts in 134 urban local bodies. Under the municipal energy efficiency program, also the government started two more schemes, that is street lighting national program and municipal energy efficiency program. Street lighting program was for replacement of street lights with LED street lights, and the municipal energy efficiency program was for replacement of the inefficient water supply pumps with efficient energy efficient water pumps. Again, for these two programs, Energy Efficiency Services Limited is the implementing agency. Coming to the transport sector, in the transport sector, three initiatives for the road transport sector. One is CAFE, Corporate Average Fuel Economy, which was launched in 2015 by the government, and the corporate average fuel economy standard for passenger cars was implemented in two phases, initially target for 2017-18 and for 22-23 onwards. Subsequently, in 2017 also, these corporate average fuel economy fuel consumption standards was introduced for heavy duty vehicles, and apart from this cafe implementation, the second initiative was FAME, that is faster adoption and manufacture of electric vehicles. Of course, in India, the population of electric vehicles is not or few hundreds, and we have to do a lot in this sector, because this is the future which will address the localized air pollution emission problems as well as noise pollution problems. In the railway sector, again two subsectors, that is the traction and the non-traction. The traction and the non-traction sectors under the railways has been also included under the PAT scheme, because as a designated consumer in the energy intensive sectors, the traction as well as the non-traction sectors has been included under the P80 scheme. Apart from this, railway by itself has also initiated several programs for energy efficiency improvement. Coming to the achievements of energy efficiency programs implementations, in 2018-19, if we see, as a country we have achieved about 23.7 million tons of oil equivalent because of implementation of energy efficiency programs and schemes. And also this total energy out of this total energy savings, you can see industry is the key sector where maximum energy efficiency has been achieved. About 50% of the total energy savings. Now, the schemes and programs initiated by the government has been in the different sectors of energy consumption. So in each and every sectors, there is energy savings, but yes, majority savings we have achieved in the industry sectors. So against this avoided energy consumption or energy savings because of implementation of energy efficiency initiatives, there is reduction of carbon emission coming from the fossil fuels. So about 150 million tons of CO2 equivalent emission reduction has been achieved during the financial year of 2018 and 19. Now, if you analyze the contributions of different programs and schemes which resulted in the overall energy efficiency or energy savings, you can see the P80 scheme has the most impactful scheme initiated by the government. And in 2018-19, the P80 scheme has resulted, has a share of 58 percentage out of the total energy saving achieved. It includes the industry sector as well as other establishment sectors also. And apart from this P80 scheme, the S&L program, Standard and Living Program, which is introduced for the appliances, that also contributes about 20% of the total energy savings. And of course, followed by the agricultural, cafe, fame for the transport sector, municipal DSM for street lighting programs, energy efficiency programs in SMEs and buildings. But the most impactful, three most impactful schemes being the P80 scheme, the SNL program, and the Ujala program, which intended to replace the inefficient products by LED bulbs, LED tube lights, and energy efficient fans. This was the achievement in during 2018-19. Now, if we come to the achievements over a decade, almost from 2011 to till date, you can say every year we have achieved a bit in terms of energy savings because of implementation of various programs and schemes in different sectors. In 2018-19 alone, almost 4% of energy consumption was energy demand was avoided because of energy efficiency activities. You can see almost 23.73 million tons of oil equivalent was reduction from the business as usual scenario. So from the business as usual scenario, because of the initiatives under the energy efficiency program, we are able to reduce our energy consumption about 4%, that too in a particular 2018-19 financial year. And over the last decade, you can see every year we are going a step ahead. Now, coming to the future plans, several studies has been initiated by the government with respect to the energy demand scenario in coming years, as well as the energy saving potential in the sectors. The major sectors, yes, we have initiated in the country. The government has initiated schemes, programs in all the major energy consuming sectors. But from here onwards, we have to not only see the effectiveness of the implementation of the schemes being implemented, also we have to go for a technological transformation. So a detailed study was carried out by the government to find out, to unlock the potential of energy savings by year 2031. Now, by year 2031, in different sectors, we see energy saving potential under a moderate energy saving scenario of about 87 million tons of oil equivalent. And under the ambitious energy saving scenario, there is a potential of 129 million tons of oil equivalent of energy saving potential. And if you talk only about the moderate energy saving scenario, this 87 million tons of oil equivalent requires about 8.4 lakh crores of investment by 2031. And this quantum of energy savings out of this 87 7 million tons of oil equivalent, almost 50% has to come from the industry sector alone, apart which is again followed by the domestic sector. So in for the next 20 years also, or 10 years or so, the industry sector is going to be the major contributors towards achieving the energy efficiency program. Also, if you see from the climate action point of view, from the national determined contribution target, where India has committed for reduction of about 36% on emission intensity. The overall reduction potential by 2030 is about 889 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. And out of 889, 438 million tons of carbon dioxide emission reduction can be achieved through energy efficiency implementations in a moderate saving scenario. So you can see from the total reduction of carbon emission, about 50% share comes from the energy efficiency activity alone. So that is why the energy efficiency programs implemented till now, we have in the first hand, we have saw the result of the energy efficiency program schemes in all the sectors, and we have more ambitious plan for the future. So with this, I conclude my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Avijit. It was a good opportunity to see the landscape of the energy policy in India. Very comprehensive. And I can see NMEEE, the National Missions for Enhanced Energy Efficiency. That is the big umbrella that explains all the schemes and the policies so far. And one of the major components was P80 that you explained earlier. And it was the most effective scheme that in terms of the energy saving, which was about 58%. And you also talked about it has the certification systems which can be traded between companies, I guess. So could you explain a little bit more about the mechanism or the systems in terms of the trading certification between the companies under P80?
Yes, of course. So, because as I said, this is one of the most impactful scheme initiated by the government in terms of achieving energy efficiency for the designated consumer sector. Now, under the scheme, as I said, the energy saving or the every designated consumers will be given a target for reducing their specific energy consumption. Now, once a designated consumer achieves the targeted specific energy consumption, it will be issued energy saving certificates. And there will be the other category of designated consumers which may not be able to achieve the targeted specific energy consumption. And in such case, they have to purchase the energy saving certificates. So there are two groups right now, a group of designated consumers which have the energy saving certificates, and a group of consumers which does not have the energy saving certificates, and they have to purchase those certificates to comply the requirements. So to develop this trading mechanism, the regulating responsibility was given to the Central Electricity Regulatory Commission of India, and the Regulatory Commission came up with the guidelines for terms and conditions for trading or to handle this trading process. And the responsibility was given to the Indian Energy Exchange to develop an online platform for trading of these energy saving certificates. The trading platform was provided by the Indian Energy Exchange, on which every Tuesday of a week from 1300 hours to 1500 hours is the trading window open. And this is a competitive based trading online where the price discovery of the energy certificates takes place. And this is what you say, this is a competitive market. This is a platform, open platform, where the buyers or sellers come together for the trading process. Now, as inbuilt, as I discussed during the presentations also, once the trading takes place, you can say industry which is selling the energy saving certificates, it is indirectly getting incentivized for its efficient use of energy, whereas the industry which is buying the energy saving certificates, it is getting indirectly penalized for the inefficient use of energy.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you for your answer. I'd like to dive into the question because PAT was one of the schemes under industry, and under the industry sector, the recipients are very diverse, like the large corporations, MSMEs, uh, and maybe different variations in terms of the size, types of the companies, and the number of the companies must be a lot. So in this case, how are the industries are guided on things to do in terms
Okay.
of meeting the targets? So it could be the same questions like, how do you manage such complexity in the industrial sector?
Yes. Yes. Now, this P80 scheme, the beauty of the scheme is this is a consultative approach. So the industry associations, the regulators, the government, the consultants are consulted for setting up the targets and achieving the energy efficiency projects. Coming to guiding the industries for achieving the energy efficiency performance targets, the industries or the designated consumers, basically under the scheme, I would say, they are have a mandate of conducting a mandatory energy audit in an interval of 3 years. Now, when the energy audits or the mandatory energy audit happens, the energy audit reports, there is already a prescribed format of providing the reports to the industries. The mandatory energy audit report will come up with recommendations and areas of improvement where the particular designated consumers has to implement the energy efficiency projects to achieve the target specified under the P80 scheme. And also, it is a mandatory requirement that each designated consumers under the scheme must appoint a qualified energy manager who is responsible for coordinating with the government, with the energy auditing agency for developing this mandatory energy audit report as well as implementation in the industry. So the industries are well guided by the government by providing qualified and certified energy professionals and the consulting firms to implement the energy efficiency projects so that the energy efficiency targets specified by the government can be achieved.
Yes, yeah, it's great that you appoint some kind of managers to do the work. But in terms of the SMEs, maybe they don't
Um,
have enough workforce, or they have some budgetary limits to implement such things. So in this case, can you share some kind of challenges that they might have?
Yes, for SMEs, there are mainly three challenges when the energy efficiency programs are initiated for the SME sectors. The first challenge is being the sector is so diverse. The numbers are so many, and if you see the diversity, the industry starts with one man without having a business premises up to hundreds of employees in one of the manufacturing facility. So the first challenge is to bring a proper understanding among the SMEs about the impact of energy on their production process, because we have to accept there is a poor understanding of energy use in the SME sector. That is why when the bureau first started the capacity building program, awareness programs among the SMEs for creating awareness about energy consumption and energy performance in the SME sectors. The second major challenge being the technical capability. The SMEs must able to understand or must be able to use a standardized energy efficiency product. Not only the availability of the standardized energy efficiency product, but also a qualified local service provider which is available in the vicinity of the industry to cater the services required by the SME units. So the second challenge is to develop standardized products which can be used by the SMEs, like other appliances, and also building up the local service providers capacity which can meet the MSMEs requirement. The third challenge being faced by the SMEs is related to financing, because all SMEs may not be able to afford to the financing requirements for the implementation of the energy efficiency technologies. So, innovative financing models has been developed by the government. The financial institutions has been linked to it. The demo projects already implemented, and some of the clusters, the demo projects are being implemented to bring in the MSMEs to understand the impact of energy use and energy efficiency in their production. So yes, there I agree there are challenges, but a lot can be done in this MSME sector, because if you see the India's industrial sector, which combines both large as well as the small industry sectors, 45% of the total industrial production comes from the SME sector. So yes, there are challenges, but there is also scope for improvement in the MSME sectors.
Yeah, thank you for the answer. So I can see the approach, the India's government's approach in terms of the SME programs, especially there's strong support from B, like the Bureau of the Energy Efficiency. And let's move to the domestic sector, because I can see there is a program called S&L, like the standards and labeling program for appliances. And there's also similar program called Super Efficient Equipment Program. And as far as I understood, both programs supports the replacement or the remover of inefficient electric appliances or devices, I guess.
Yes.
I'm not sure that you can elaborate further. So those two programs are separate, but it sounds a little bit similar. So can you share how these two programs are distinguished?
Okay. Yes. See, both, yes, as you told that, yes, both the programs now sounds similar, and they are targeting the appliances sector. But yes, SNL program is specifically for the appliances sector, where the objective is to achieve energy performance or improvement in the energy performance in a continual manner. So step by step, we are enhancing the energy performance of the appliances. Under this SNL program, the energy or the appliances are rated based on their energy performance. The best efficient product available in the market is given the 5-star rated, and so on up to the 1-star ratings. And under this program also, as I said, it is a dynamic program. So from specified intervals, the process is reviewed, and the most efficient product is given as the star rated, 5-star rated product. So this is a continual process of introducing efficient appliances into the market. But under the super energy efficient program, yes, under this program, the first appliances targeted is ceiling fans, which comes under the appliance sector. But under the super energy efficient program, the objective is to introduce a super energy efficient equipment and take a leapfrog jump in terms of energy performance. For example, in the targeted ceiling fan program, the energy performance of the super efficient ceiling fans is about more up to 50 percentage of the existing appliances in market. Now, under this scheme, there is a requirement to introduce or to penetrate the market with the super energy efficient appliances. To develop these efficient appliances, the manufacturers are incentivized through different financial stimulus at critical points. As I said, under this ceiling fan program, the government is trying to introduce a ceiling fan of about 35 watts against the average power consumption of a ceiling fan which is available in the market is about 70%, 70 watts. So you can see about 50% more efficient appliances is being introduced. for this big jump in terms of energy efficiency or energy performance, this requires a boost by the government and the other stakeholders. That is why this program is little different from the SNL program, which is a gradual process of introducing energy efficient products.
Yes, so I can see that maybe SNL, some companies applied to SNL could be the companies applied to super efficient equipment program as
Yeah,
well, but
of course. Yes.
the gradual process in terms of the SNL. Okay, thank you. Due to time limits, maybe this could be the last question now. Can you share your observations or insights regarding the future of energy policy in India? Because India ranks high in terms of the primary energy consumption, but it also ranks high in renewable energy developments in the world. So I think the country is transforming to the clean energy all in all. So that's the ultimate goal. So maybe you can have some kind of the insights following the world trends for India.
Yeah, of course. See, to address the energy issues with respect to India, mainly one aspect is about meeting the demand of growing energy consumption and also tackling the climate issues. Now, when it comes to the growing energy demand, a study was conducted by the government to assess the energy scenario or the Indian energy security scenario 2047. And the study also indicates our reliance on the conventional fossil fuels and more dependence on coal in the years ahead. So the energy issues in India requires not only from the energy efficiency side, but also from alternate sources of energy. The alternate sources of energy program and the energy efficiency program has to go in parallel to tackle the energy issues in India. Coming to the climate aspects, as I highlighted, that from the nationally determined contributions of India, where we are targeting a reduction of carbon emissions up to 889 million tons by 2031. Out of that, you can see about 50% of carbon emission reduction is can be achieved through energy efficiency projects, energy efficiency programs alone. So to tackle the energy issues, yes, parallelly with the energy efficiency programs, the alternate energy sources programs has to go in hand. But yes, energy efficiency programs is going to be the one of the dominating program through which we can achieve the energy efficiency and energy demand issues in Indian energy sectors.
Yes, thank you. Now we are getting to the end of this pre-talk. So let me summarize our discussion and the presentations. So now almost all countries in the world have used fossil fuels as the main source of energy that have powered the world economy so far. And altering the practice tradition of this energy use, especially using the primary energy source into clean energy, is difficult and expensive to adopt to. So MROP transformation wouldn't be feasible, but rather we continuously increase the proportion of using clean energy together with enhanced energy efficiency. So the speaker, Mr. Avijit, and I also talked about this. So it would be the two-track approaches for smooth transition. And one impressive point for me was that the policies go along with the market
Yeah.
adoption, market transformation, which strengthens the companies and the organizations' participation into this clean energy or energy efficiency process. And this also brings financial benefits and competitiveness of their products as well. So the policies overall you introduced have such individual stimulus because it relates to the image, brand name of the company, and people know this is the ultimate direction that they attain. And each scheme works and interact organically, like carrot and sticks for check and balance. So in this sense, we hope that Mr. Avijit's presentation and today's discussion was an example that show India's joining the world's efforts for solving the climate change issues. And we also hope this could be a good opportunity to raise awareness on energy efficiency as a core national agenda for our next generation. So before we finish, can I invite Mr. Avijit's message for, because you joined our P talk, so about the impression and about your presentation, please feel free to share.
Yeah. So, and in the final message, I can say to the viewers that yes, energy is not a sufficient condition for the development right now, but energy is a necessity for development right now. So let us save energy and save the planet. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your simple and clear last message. So now it's time to wrap up. So thank you for joining us today. And we appreciate your presentation and discussion. And everyone, please safe and healthy. So see you in another P Talk again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.